the headlining news for this week. Breaking news. Hot off the press. The headliner for this week. It's the moment that we've been waiting for a while. Dave, are you ready?
Let's go! What do you got?
Drum roll, please. Yours truly was a part of a blockbuster trade earlier this morning, including 5 players from the Virginia, we don't know what we're called, to the Watertown Wolves. Yours truly is now the starting right bench for the Watertown Wolves in the FPHL, the Federal Prospects Hockey League.
By the way, I'm curious to know, the Withville, Virginia team, the unnamed Withville, Virginia team, did you spend enough time there to possibly have your number hanging from the rafters?
The greatest player to ever not step foot in the arena.
You didn't even have a number yet. They're just going to put Ridgen up in the rafters somewhere. He was here for a cup of coffee.
By the way, they do have a name. I have the official name of the Withville team, which we'll get to in a minute. We'll get into that with some FPHL news, but you want to get into the Watertown stuff, a little bit of talk, just kind of explaining how the situation came to be, the trade, all those other kind of good, juicy details, which we crave in the podcast programming every Sunday.
Well, listen, I kind of want to set this up for any new ears that we have to the podcast or new eyes that we have to the YouTube version. But so you were a Motor City Rocker for your first year of the FPHL. Hip surgery took you out for the second half of the season. You've been rehabbing. The expansion draft happened with the new team, and you got picked up in the expansion draft. Now they had a situation where they could either sign you, that you were property of Withville, and they had up until the start of the season to either sign you or trade you. And after some conversation with the ownership, it still kind of wasn't quite sorted out. And next thing you know, you're officially a Watertown Wolf. Is it Waterton or Watertown?
Watertown, H2O Town.
Okay.
Like the beverage you drink, you know?
Watertown, which is actually in upstate New York, for those that don't know, and just a stone's throw from, one of the most densely populated areas of Canada, that right on the U.S., Quebec, Ontario border. And actually, my folks don't live too far from you. In Kingston, Ontario, the home of the Tragically Hip, is just up the road.
Right down the Ontario-Quebec corridor. Also home of the Headstones. In my favorite song, I love the saying, in the words of the Headstones, everything's legal in Kingston, man, as long as you don't get caught.
Technically, that was the Traveling Wilburys, but they appropriated that. I'll give it to you.
Tweeter and the Monkey Man?
Yeah, that was a tweeter. That was a Traveling Wilbury song with Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, and a handful of others. Bob Dylan.
Incredible band. Also, home of Mike Smith, number 41 for the Arizona Coyotes, Edmonton Oilers. A couple of amazing teams. A great goalie. Home in Kingston. Played for the Kingston Frontenacs, by the way.
Yeah, good team.
But anyway, back to the Watertown news. So I was traded, and we have to rewind things a little bit. So the way that things shaped up to be. So with Motor City this season, obviously I was the infamous starting right bench, which some people, including my girlfriend, up until recently didn't know what that meant. It means I start on the right bench and I open the door. I don't actually make my way into the crease. I'm just by the door, opening bottles, giving guys double bubble gum when need be, filling bottles, and just overall good for the morale. I actually used to work a job as a Zamboni driver at the rink in Winnipeg. And the boss there told me one time, and he's like, "Ridge, come here for a second." I'm like, "What's up, boss?" And he's like, "You know what? I would fire your ass right now because you're useless. You actually don't contribute anything to this workforce, but you're just so good for the morale." I was like, what does that mean? He's like, "Guys are happy. Things are getting done. It's a good mood. It's good energy when you're around. Although you don't accomplish anything, but you're good for everybody else's productivity. So I have to keep you." And I kept that job for 9 months.
You're like an entourage guy. You're just a good hype man. You're just you just kind of keep everyone in a good mood. That's an important person to have if you have an entourage.
I'm the ultimate hype man. The missus and I are going to Toronto in 2 weeks. She has a wedding for a friend that I promised I would go to, and she's been getting all these new dresses in the mail. And I've been hyping her up, telling her, "Honey, you look good. I like this one. I like that one." Trying to get her not trying to get her to feel good about herself, but let her know just how much I love her and how good she looks. So I am the ultimate hype man. You need a wingman? I'm the man for the job, especially in Watertown.
You need to get a clock to hang around your neck like Flavor Flav from Public Enemy back in the day. Flavor Flav.
But so the Watertown story of how the trade came to be. So I'm in Motor City, and this is a series of events that I believe, I'm not super religious, but I do believe God has a role to do with this story because I don't know how else to otherwise explain it. So to start the season in Motor City, originally the management wanted, I was going to back up opening night for the home opener, and then I was going to be scratched for games 2 and 3 in Port Huron. Now, our other goalie, Blake Scott, didn't have any insurance. So as an American, he needs to have insurance. As a Canadian, you don't, is what I was told in Motor City. So because he didn't have any insurance, I backed up all 3 games, right? So after that, the next weekend we had a road trip to Watertown. I would have backed up game 1 and then been scratched game 2. But because Blake didn't have any insurance, I was scratched game 1 and I backed up game 2. Now, in game 2, when I drew back in the lineup, we're warming up in Watertown, and Charlie Pence Jr., number 32, their captain last season, he comes up to me, and I know I told the story in the podcast when it happened. He asked me, he says, "Why does everybody hate you?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out myself, to be quite honest with you." And then, he had some nice things to say about, the vlog and just things that I'm doing to try to help pump up the league and try to bring people to games, which I really appreciate. It was very nice. And I left thinking to myself, like, wow, that guy was just so nice to me. I don't know why he said those nice things, but it really touched me. It was very nice to hear. And the game starts, and a line brawl ensues, and he ends up fighting our starting goalie, Babs, best goalie in the FPHL in my opinion. I'm biased, but it is what it is. And so Babs gets into a fight, kicked out. I get into the game, and because he fought Pens gets kicked out and is now watching the game. Now, later on down the line, Charlie would be promoted to general manager of the team, which is what he is now. But during that night, he got the chance to watch. I got the chance to play. It was my only real action, if you want to call it that. And he got to see the whole performance. Started off a little bit shaky, as we talked about. Very nervous coming in after a brawl on a Saturday night in Watertown. The fans are hot and horny. They want to see me fail. They want to see us, the Motor City Rockers, fail. But after that settled down and we ended up getting the win, we killed that 6-on-3 for a minute with the empty net to close out the game. And just, in my opinion, FPHL game of the year. I think one of the most, if not the most streamed game next to the finals, game 5 of overtime, is the next most streamed game was my debut against Watertown, which I haven't checked that in a bit, but I do believe that is the case. So he gets to see that. And then fast forward kind of as the season goes on, I get my surgery. I'm gone, obviously. And obviously, Watertown was the team that was trying to make these trades for me the whole time that we've documented throughout the podcast. And now, fast forward to here, Virginia takes me in the draft. They own my rights from Motor City. Had some try that again, Travis. Had some communication with the new coach in Virginia, in Wojtek, and then Barry Soskin, our owner, and ended up just dishing me to Watertown. And the deal was, I believe, so the Watertown Wolves have acquired former captain of the Port Huron Prowlers, former champion in Watertown in 2018 when he won a trophy, the Commissioner's Cup, Dustin Henning, also the best mullet in pro hockey. I'm telling you this, Dave. Oldest D-man in pro hockey at 40 years old. Second in FPHL games played all time, but only behind Joe Pace, the legendary Jackie Moon, Joe Pace himself. And the best hairdo at 40 years old. Him and myself from Virginia heading back to Watertown. Well, he's heading back to Watertown. I'm heading to Watertown in return for their goalie, Adam Wisco, Matthias Tehan, and then another player, and then I think there was something else in the deal. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head here, but that was the deal. So they're going to Virginia. We're going to Watertown. Let's go Wolves.
Unbelievable. What a way to work your way around the league. You've almost got half the teams in the league covered already, and you're not even a full year in.
What do you mean as far as, I guess so, yeah, Motor City, Virginia, and then Watertown. There is now 12. Oh, that's a lie. There's 11 teams now, which is some news that we'll get to in a couple minutes. We got some very interesting things in the FPHL that shaped up this week. But so that's
there you go.
25%
Over a quarter
of the teams.
Over a quarter. There you go.
I never stepped in the building for one of the teams, but yes, so I've been officially owned by a quarter of the teams in the FPHL. Oh, don't forget about the Columbus River Dragons in 2019 when they had me to camp and they had me on a PTO. So that's 4 out of 11. Does that count as a third?
That counts.
Does that count? Also, I got to give a shout out to Steve. Now, Steve is a fan of the Columbus River Dragons. He bought my Columbus River Dragon jersey out of camp. So they printed the jersey with my name, my number, and everything. Sold it to the fans. Steve bought that jersey. It's a goalie cut jersey. And I will say, got to give credit where credit is due. It is a very beautiful jersey in Columbus. But he wears that jersey. And I see that, and I see my number 33, and I see Origin on the back. And I get a little bit pissed off because I'm like, I don't play for that team. We need to get you the real deal. You need the current jersey. And so I think with this season, when we go down to Columbus, if I have to, worst case, I'll do it myself. I'll pay for a jersey out of my own pocket. I don't want to swap jersey with Steve. I want to give him the Watertown jersey, and we're going to convert a Columbus River Dragon fan into a Watertown Wolves fan. How great is that?
One at a time, man. I love it. Whatever it takes. Like Captain America said, whatever it takes.
We may not win today. We may not win tomorrow. May not even be next week or next month, but we will win you over. Everybody's going to be a Watertown Wolves fan, and we're going to win this year. And I got to say, too, also, just on an actual serious note, in my communications with Charlie Pence Jr., the GM for Watertown Wolves, I have never had somebody be so honest with me. Like, he tells me something is going to happen. It happens. He tells me this is what's going to shake down. It is what it is. It's exactly the way that he described. His players are vouching for him. I got to give a shout out to Everett Thompson, my former teammate in Motor City, which by the way, I still do owe $20 for that calzone in Binghamton, which I will pay him back for this season. At some point, I will give him the $20 that I rightfully owe him. But he's vouched for Penzi all the way. So this guy's an amazing guy, straight cut, straight shooter, no BS. The guy gets stuff done. John Armentidis, I played against him when I was in Sweden my last season. He now plays in Watertown. He's like, Penzi is the man. He delivers. He takes care of guys. There's nobody else I want to play for. So to Charlie Penz, I just want to say thank you for believing in me. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for bringing me into a team where...
If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button. We do a new podcast every single Sunday during the season called Sling the Biscuit. It is a non-mainstream hockey podcast, so we talk about my hockey career, the minor pros, Spain, the Fed, you name it, all the stuff that you won't hear in the mainstream news.
Music,
Pop culture.
politics, a little bit.
Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you soon.